Hey guys, how's it going? CoderMan here. I get a bunch of comments from people on Instagram asking me, how I'm doing with the car and if I enjoy it. And I figured I'd do a quick video on, my thoughts on the car now that I've had it for about a month. And yeah, I figured we'd just, hop in the car, grab the POV and go for a quick ride. So as I'm sure a lot of you guys know from my last video on this, I bought it in Colorado and drove it home about 2,000 miles with my son over the course of 3 days. And really, I think that's the best way that you could learn a car or even understand if you like a car, because you pretty much live in it for 3 days. And I have to say that I've really enjoyed every aspect of it. So I'm not sure how well the microphone's going to pick up the brakes, but you can actually hear the brakes squeaking, and something I had to get used to. Again, it's one of those things, if these are the types of things that I'm picking on, then it's a pretty damn fun car. So let's put the exhaust on, put it in sport mode, keep the suspension soft, because as you can tell, the roads are pretty nasty around this way. So you'll notice that it's a lot louder than the M3 was, and that's partially just because the engine is a lot closer to my head and subsequently the microphone. I think also you can hear a lot of the intake noise, and then of course the exhaust if I really get on it. So after we get out of this area, I can actually get up on it a little bit and hopefully not anger any Karens. So I'm sure just like me, you guys are in quarantine, or at least requested to stay home. And you gotta kind of pick your battles when you go out. You'll find people that are upset that you're out. I've had a couple people tell me as such, saying this can't possibly be a daily driver, so why am I out? And honestly, it's not a mandatory stay at home. I practice social distancing. I haven't seen my friends in person for almost a month now, and realistically, that's kind of just what you have to do. But one of the things we can do as car enthusiasts is we can drive. And I seriously urge everybody out there, if you have a fun car or even if you have your daily car, just get out there and drive. Have a motorcycle, do the same thing. Right in front of me right now I have 3 cars. I think that's the most I've seen in front today. And it's just kind of the way that it goes. There's not a lot of people out, but at the same time, that means that there is a lot of cops and they don't have a lot to do. So regardless if you're driving a bright red car or a yellow or green or purple, or even just one of your more normal colors, you got to be aware of the cops. Don't do anything stupid. And you just got to obviously realize there's going to be pedestrians and bikes out there, so don't be afraid to drive, but you just kind of got to be more aware on the road. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's really nothing that I don't like about this car. And as you can see from there, you know, it has a lot more torque than the M3. Has actually a little less horsepower, but it also weighs about, I think it's like 600 or 700 pounds less. And it's more nimble in the corners. It has a tighter suspension. And actually at this moment, I only have it on normal suspension because I'm on city streets. If you were on a track, you can put it into sport suspension, and it really tightens up the suspension, and the thing becomes extremely dialed in, but you'll feel every single bump. So obviously there's a trade-off there. You know, really, as far as mods for this car, the only thing that I can even think of doing is headers or an exhaust, just to let that engine open up a little bit, get a little bit more HP, a little bit more torque if I went with like a Fab Speed header exhaust combo, but then I would lose the valves. So I have my buddy Austin over at Valvetronic that you saw. I did the video on how to buy a car out of state. He has Valvetronic designs, and he already said that he could make a special exhaust for this car. It's not something that they do normally, but they would put it through their special operations division and, you know, build something custom, possibly headers too. So I have a couple of options, but, you know, we're gonna have to wait and see how everything shakes out, because, you know, at the moment, we've had, you know, with our rental property, we've had no money come in at this moment. And in addition to that, I've had a lot of projects canceled or put on hold. So I'm not really keen on spending extra money on mods. You know, I mean, we're fortunate that we're still working. We still have, you know, money in the bank or whatever, but when, you know, there's some people out there that aren't as fortunate. And I realize that. And honestly, driving this car is kind of weird, because I bought the best car at the absolute worst time. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's my favorite car of the cars I've owned or driven, but it kind of, you know, puts off the wrong image. You know, I mean, my wife and I are not super rich or even rich at all. We work super hard, we save our money, we do good whenever we can, and we like to reward ourselves. And my wife doesn't even like cars, so, you know, she didn't understand this purchase even before all of this, but she respects it, and that's kind of what we go with. You know, but it's kind of weird. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to continue driving it. You know, I'm not in a situation where I have to sell it or anything. It's just, it kind of puts it all in perspective that, you know, there's people in all different, you know, socioeconomic parts of life, and I don't look down or, you know, anything of the sort of anybody. But it's funny, because on the other side of that, I do have people, even close friends, that have started to give me crap about buying this, saying that it's insensitive to post pictures about it. And I don't know, I mean, I'm curious in the comments, like, you know, without getting into some sort of a war, like, what do you guys think of that? I think that, you know, personally, I share this car because people want to see it. I mean, I'm not showing off, I'm not, you know, traveling the world or anything like that. I don't do a whole hell of a lot unless it's car related. And even now, with people being stuck in houses, can't even do that. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. All right, so we're almost to the other part of town where those back roads are, like I did for the other car. So I'm not gonna talk much through that part, as I want you guys to enjoy it, and I want you to hear the car and enjoy the sights and sounds. So you may remember from my last video when I was through here, it's a great stretch of road, and it actually continues on. But this first part has a couple speed bumps, which I haven't taken this car through yet. So this will be interesting. You know, I'll catch in real-time video how badly I'm gonna screw up the lip on this car. Well, it doesn't scrape there. Nope, it doesn't scrape. That's good. So when my son and I were in Ohio, we stayed at downtown Hilton, and pulling into the parking garage, I ended up clipping the front lip on the decline, or the descent rather. So I've been kind of sensitive to dips in the road, not wanting to rip the, you know, obviously not wanting to rip the lip off of this car. good thing is they didn't put any through here, as this is starting to become one of the better parts of the road. Just got to be careful with cyclists. And there's a couple of really narrow parts of the road where you'll see the trees, they definitely win in the battle of going through the road too wide. Like right there. This is one of the worst parts of the road, is right through this section, because people will park and then cyclists will come up this hill, and that rock formation makes this very narrow. All right, now comes the best of the best. Alright, so just like before, I'm going to go down back through, as that's the way to my house, and I find it's fun to do this in reverse. So I will say right off that with this tire and suspension combo, this car stays way more planted. I don't feel any sort of lift or any sort of hesitation in the suspension setup. Even on a road that I was probably only going 50, maybe 55 miles an hour, but I was definitely into it on some of those turns, and it really just makes me itch for the track even more. I'm hoping that I can get into the track this summer. It's going to really depend on my schedule. Work hopefully will pick up, so it might be harder to plan. But, everybody says that this is a track-centric car, and I gotta say it really is. I mean, it obviously has some street, creature comforts. It is comfortable. You can drive it really wherever you want. It doesn't matter. The suspension's not quite as forgiving as the M3 is in regards to like bumps and stuff, even in normal mode. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. It's always fun to be driving around. Hopefully I answered some of those common questions on my thoughts on this car and why I think I may have picked the worst time to buy it. But I appreciate you checking out this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.